Back to the PIC Commission of Inquiry. It's concluded now, but my colleague Mbalenhle Mthethwa is standing by with Iqbal Survé, the head of the Sekunjalo Group. Mbali?
Good afternoon, Nompu. Definitely, I am standing by with the man of the moment. He has just finished giving testimony. Today was the second day of testimony, giving testimony that is at the PIC Inquiry, which was underway in Pretoria. It is due to continue next week. But without further ado, I am going to hand over to the man of the moment. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Iqbal. My first question is, how do you think the Commission should continue, given the pronouncements that have been made by Mbalenhle as well as Finance Minister Tito Mboweni relating to your company?
Mbali, I'm not aware of the announcements from Tito Mboweni, unless you're referring to what I said about Mbalenhle Mthethwa, the chairman of the PIC and the deputy finance minister. I'd expressed the view of what Mr. Mthethwa had said to people. And I do hope that the Commission looks into that. I think it's very important for our democracy. I think it's very important to be able to hold people to account and not to allow people to do things without proper processes and proper conduct. So the best I can hope for is that the Commission will look into the conduct of the Deputy Minister of Finance and the Chairman of the PIC Board.
During your testimony, you have said that you've denied having a personal relationship with Dan Matjela and that having influenced some of the transactions that the PIC has invested in companies that you are related to and all of those transactions. Can you please explain to us about your relationship with Dan Matjela?
Thank you. Look, the PIC has invested to date in 3 companies out of 200. That is part of the Sekunjalo Group. Dr Mutulu is a black professional. He's a professor. He's an excellent technocrat. I have huge respect for him. He has taken the PIC from 400 billion to 2 trillion. In fact, I think he should be given an award by the country and the president for what he's done. It is sad to see a man that has given so much to the PIC and as a black professional has excelled being handled and managed the way that he has by some of the politicians out there. And my relationship is professional. I engage with Dr. Mutulu as I do with all captains of industry, whether they be bankers, institutions, auditors, advisors. That is my role as chairman of the group, something that I should be allowed to do. But I think we must applaud when black professionals excel. We must not, it is Frantz Fanon that said very clearly in his book, The Wretched of the Earth, it is the colonizers that want the colonized to fight amongst themselves. We must resist that. We must make sure that we support our people. We must make sure that we allow our black professionals and people to excel. And I think what's happening to Dr. Mutulu is really unfair. But that is my opinion. Dr. Mutulu has to come to the Commission and speak for himself.
You've spoken at length about black economic transformation, black economic empowerment and transformation in the country. Some might call that deflecting from the true, issues that are at hand at this very commission. What would you say about that?
No, I think, look, I've lived transformation. Everything I do is about transformation. I do not apologize for that. Part of the reason why established business, white business, do not like me is because I say the things which are most uncomfortable about transformation in this economy. Now, the point is that transformation and business growth goes hand in hand. I don't believe that business success can be done without transformation. But there's another issue here. There's an underlying assumption that white businesses in this country are the only ones that can be successful. The reality is that the largest disasters in this country are due to white businesses. But there's a second issue. These white businesses have taken out of this country alone in the last 2 years 450 billion. In the last decade, they've taken R1 trillion out of this country. That money belongs to our people. They've invested it in Europe, in Asia, and in Australia, etc. I'm a South African. I want to invest in our country and our continent for job creation. So the issue is that if that is what you mean by transformation, of course I champion it. Of course I support it. Of course there are those detractors who will try and make this seem like it's just a peripheral issue. It's not. Transformation is central to our economy. It's central to our future. It's not acceptable that today on the JSE, a 12 trillion market capitalization, less than 100 billion is owned by 90% of the country's population. Similarly with land. How do you do it that the land is still in the hands of the white people in this country? How do you do it that the top executive positions across all corporates, 75 to 80% is handled by white males? This is unacceptable. And yes, I'm being persecuted today because I stand up for this, because I'm not afraid of them. I've never been. I can live simply tomorrow morning, no matter what. If I lose everything, it's okay. For me, it's not about that. It's about principles, the struggles that people have endured over the last few decades. And somebody has to stand up and somebody has to tell the truth. Everyone else is afraid to tell the truth, because if you do tell the truth, the white corporates come and they kill you off. They stop giving you money, they stop banking you, they start sort of working against you. In my case, well, I'm independent of them, and therefore I can do it. And some people would argue, okay, you can afford to do it, but you must still have principles and courage. Our country has a great future. I believe in black talent. I'm not going to apologize for it. Why should I? The fact of the matter is, they have the networks where, they were, as I said, 600,000 white males during apartheid were conscripted. 600,000, that's a huge amount. Those people are today captains of industry of all the corporate service countries. They go to their braais together. Yesterday, I went to a restaurant in Pretoria. I walked in there. I counted one table of black people only. In a table of 24 tables were all white people. This is unacceptable. I go onto a flight on SAA, British Airways, whatever. The majority of the flight is white people. Black people, maybe they're sitting here and there, but the reality is this is not acceptable. I'm not saying this economy should only be for black people, but you cannot have a situation where 85 to 90% of this economy is in the hands of the same people that had this economy during apartheid. It has to change. And some of us have to risk everything, like myself. Some of us are being persecuted because we dare to speak truth to power. I am being persecuted because I dared to buy a media house. I went into a system which was white dominated. I speak too much, I know.
No, it's all right. It's just that we have time constraints on our hands, and I want to be able to slip this question in, which is the last one. Independent media seems to be, suffering some financial constraints, and you have mentioned plans to speak to the PIC to recapitalize it in the interest of saving jobs and the likes. Please tell us more about your plans to do this.
Well, to date, I'm the only one that's funding independent media. To date, Sekunjalo has funded about 300 million in working capital for the business. We continue to do so, primarily because it is predominantly, it's 1,500 employees, predominantly black, aspirational. We need media diversity. But I'd like to sit with the PIC, and all media companies are struggling. Even SABC is struggling. It's not a good thing, because journalism is under threat in this situation. I don't think we must take any gratification if TSO Black Star is struggling. Media 24 is NASPES, they have the apartheid roots, etc. The fact is that we must try and help all media companies. And even I would encourage the government to really invest in SABC as an example. It's an important state institution providing an important public service for the majority of its peoples in this country. So yes, SABC has losses, yes, independent media has losses, but it doesn't mean we must throw it by the wayside. And we can't just simply say go and retrench thousands of people, not at this time in our country. We have to have a process where we retrain people, reskill people up, move them into different areas. And I think the PIC has a social responsibility to do that. Because, if you look at it slightly differently, all of this is about inviting investment into our country. So SABC, independent media, I guess we're the black voice, right, in a way. but we project our country because we love it. Others project the countries as if they hate it. They talk about us as being savages, corrupt, this and that, etc. If we project our country accurately, not sunshine journalism, but just accurately, we then attract investment into our economy, which creates jobs and which lifts everything. That's what we have to do. This approach of simply just ignoring all of that is not acceptable. My offer to the PIC is very simply to sit down and talk. Let's find a way in order to save important media institutions. These are difficult times for the media globally, not just in South Africa. It's not a uniquely South African phenomenon. But I'll tell the minister she should please not do anything which harms SABC and its ability to deliver really good news to our people, because we need that.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. There you have it. That is Iqbal Survé, who was just speaking to us following his testimony before the PIC Commission of Inquiry. But for now, it's back to you in studio.
Thanks for that, Mbali. We're going to go for a quick